All right, so we're under control. We're underway. Maybe under control or not. All right, we've got a few people there who are not on mute. If I can just ask everyone who is not mute, put themselves on mute. It's like Jens Adam, you might be the culprit who is mute.
Wahrscheinlich habe ich mich jetzt hier komplett rausgeschrotet.
All right, folks, just one more time. Yeah, if you're not on mute, can you please put yourself on mute? That would be wonderful. Okay, so what we're going to do today is run through YF9 enhancements. And what we're actually going to start with is a video of the product overview that Ivan and Dan recorded for the summit, which is coming up this Thursday. Rather than just repeat everything that they said on that video, we're going to watch that rather professional recording so we can all sit through that for 15, 20 minutes or so, and then we'll come back and we'll actually talk. We'll step through 7 major enhancements, slide by slide, and we'll go into a little bit of depth about what's in each of those. You'll note as we move through, there are some notes on the slide, so similar to the first training session where we have the company overview deck with some notes just for your reference on those slides. We have done that again for this deck as well, for these slides. And then we will talk about a couple of other things, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end. Before we do kick off, one item I should mention, there has been a lot of questions about when should we use these slides. Basically, in our general sales approach, we generally move through a company overview and then aim to move straight into a demo, and anything detailed on the product is normally covered in that demo. We still suggest that everybody does that. These slides are here basically as a reference tool and as a sales tool for you to use. Not necessarily all together. They do flow reasonably well together, as you'll see. They're broken up into 3 main sections. But they are more to talk about if there's a single item that needs to be spoken about and there's no chance to take the prospect into the demo, that we can use these slides to talk about a single one of these major enhancements in more detail. So that's a little bit of background. Obviously open to questions of that when we get to the Q&A section. Ivan, do you want to jump in with anything before I move to the video?
No, not at all. Feel free.
Okay, let me just see if we can transfer over here. Sorry, just bear with me. We just need to make sure we get the video happening. With the audio.
Thanks. Absolute cracker of a frame to start me with.
Wow. Yes, we aim for the best. Okay, so I think the
YF9 is a very big release, chock full of goodies and enhancements. We'll show you some of the highlights in the demo later, but do take your time to go through this release and enjoy it.
Yeah, all good.
All good. Ivan, are we at the right spot?
I believe so.
All right. Let me know if we need to jump ahead at all.
So let's talk a little bit about what we have in store with YF9. So with YF9, we're thinking about analytics differently. We're focusing on the 95%, those business users, and how they consume information. And really, once again, thinking about the data engineers, the analysts, the developers, and the tools that they need to build those experiences that drive adoption. But to enable this as well, governance has to be at its core. And this goes beyond what we typically view governance as in the analytics industry. We're looking beyond, the setting up, the data side of things, but knowing that, when we cut and paste into email and PowerPoint, we lose lineage. So we're looking to govern end to end. And additionally, as I've kind of talked about, that experience is so critical to adoption. So we're thinking about devices, we're thinking about the experience of the individual users and what they need to use that data for their jobs. And as I said, you see this theme a lot, consumption is changing and what's driving this. And really, we've had this dashboard paradigm for the last 30 years that I know as a been in the industry a while. I'm just over, and a lot of the businesses as well. And there needs to be something different, and it starts with the feed, which we've spoken a lot about. The second part is looking at dashboards differently, dashboards that drive action, that are built around the experience of those consuming them. The third is the journey that we started that Ivan talked about with data storytelling, and then going further of that and providing a mechanism for all governed data communications. And YF 9 is about delivering on that vision. Now, we talked about the mobile app, which we brought to market a couple of months ago, preceding this big launch. The other two big parts of this is, one, a complete revamp of dashboards to align with this vision, and a complete update to our existing storyboard product, which will now be called Yellowfin Present. And really, this is a brand new type of dashboard that enables kind of automation of actions and closes the loop on decision making. And to do this, we had to re-architect the whole dashboard module to modernize the development framework to enable what we're about to show you here today. And there are multiple parts to this, but it starts with a brand new dashboard canvas. And this dashboard canvas is going to enable everything you're about to see in the next few moments. And this is a free-form layout dashboard design, which will allow you to build anything and really kind of break the grid with pixel-perfect dashboard design. You can plug in images, text, forms, buttons, anything you like to create beautiful analytics experience. The second part of this, we're thinking about, how do you build these dashboards more effectively? And any BI professional would know that sometimes it can be quite a challenge to get analytics design right to what the business actually needs. Time to time, back and forth, email, Google Docs, meetings, etc. So we've looked at how do we help this process. We've got a brand new feature called Blueprint, just for that. Blueprint is a design framework that provides the business a way to articulate what they need. We built this all within the platform so business users and analysts can collaborate on the design of analytics. So no more getting lost in emails, Google Docs, all there for everyone to see and agreed upon, all within the application. The next big feature is what we call quick charts. Now, with every new release, we try to reduce the steps to do common things, and building visualizations can now be done right from the dashboard with just a few clicks. So enough of me talking about it. Ivan, let's show everyone what it's all about.
But before we talk about the new dashboard canvas, let's have a look at what you get today. You have your charts, your reports on this layout. You can apply global and individual filters together, and all interactive. It's a great dashboard, but the layout here is still grid-based. With the new dashboard canvas, we break the grid, giving you access to pixel-perfect dashboard design and more. Let's have a look. Now, this is a dashboard that's unfinished, but you can already see how different it looks and feels. Let's put this dashboard to draft and see how we went about building this. The new dashboard canvas allows you to control the layout of the dashboard to the pixel, free-form layouts freeing you from the familiar row and column grid paradigm. You have a properties panel on the right that gives you the ability to control canvas design. You can toggle grid lines, rulers, lock aspect ratios, and more. The panel on the left allows you to place any type of content. This includes the usual BI content of tables and data visualizations, widgets like filters, text, shapes, lines, icons, and images. Let's search for a chart and drag it onto the canvas. So just typing it here and drag it into the canvas. In YF 9, I can select specific charts from any report, including the entire report canvas if I wanted to, or just the table. I'm going to select a chart that I prepared beforehand and drop it here. Now let's just resize that and move that to the top. So you can see that with everything that comes with the new dashboard canvas, we're giving you the tools to design and build stunning dashboards that are pixel perfect. In YF 9, we have started to take dashboard design to another level with Blueprint. Let's have a look. Blueprint makes it possible for a business user to drag on prototype widgets, place them on a page, and at the same time, describe to the analyst exactly what they want placed there. Let's fill in some details for this particular Blueprint chart. All right. And with the activity stream, they can also maintain ongoing conversations and collaboration in real time with everyone else. This way, we bridge the gap between the business user and the analysts and developers who are building content for them by making it incredibly easy to define exactly what you want in a dashboard, even if you cannot build it yourself. For the analyst who has the access, it's simply a matter of clicking on the blueprint and initiating the chart creation process through quick charts. You can simply select the dimension and metrics on the right, and the chart builds itself. You can have different aggregations, split by different categories with color sets, and even add additional metrics with second series. So let's add demographic here, and the chart splits. Now let's quickly change this quick chart and add a second series instead. You can also decide whether you want to share the same axes, dual axes, or split them entirely. All in a click, as well as other options below. We're really following the 80-20 rule here, where most of what's needed today to build charts can be achieved here. But if you need, you can certainly go into the advanced builder to perform further activities there. So what makes this so good? Well, with the all-new dashboard canvas, besides building visually stunning content, you'll be able to build a differentiated analytics experience that's different to what's out there. You'll have better collaboration with governed prototyping, and even if they couldn't build it themselves, Blueprint will help business users define exactly what they want. For the analysts and developers who built the content, they'll be able to work from a proper specification together. And next is code mode. If you are a developer, this is for you. Code mode comes with a bilateral editor that allows users to create dashboards and extend their functionality into new analytical experiences in both visual and code modes, using HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, common dev languages that most, if not all, devs are familiar with. We also have a new content API, a refreshed JavaScript API that can be used internally within the platform and externally for embedding content as well. Every object on the dashboard now has its own contextual API, including the canvas itself, and are all state aware, allowing you to listen to events and have fine-grained control over the properties of any object. So if you can think of it, you can build it within code mode. Next is code widgets. Code widgets are a great way to take something a developer wrote in code mode and create a low-code, no-code template out of it. So rather than rebuild it every time, authors can not only bring external APIs and app experiences into Yellowfin, but reuse it when they need, all through an open, extensible plugin framework which provides the base for unique experiences, interactions, or visualizations. So we have code mode and we have code widgets, so what will close the decision-making loop here? Actions. In Yellowfin 9, we have action buttons that can trigger actions within Yellowfin or ones within external enterprise applications. You can push data to these enterprise apps or pull from them. What this means is that developers can take these buttons, create integrated and bi-directional workflows via code mode, and produce actionable dashboards with seamless workflows. Again, much easier to show it and to talk about it, so let's see it in action. So let's revisit a completed version of the Licorio dashboard that we just saw from the previous example. See this toggle button at the top? You can flip between each visual and code mode with one click, and changes in one mode are instantly reflected in the other. So use drag and drop where it makes the most sense, or extend it with as little as much code as you need to create the experience you want. Every object on the canvas on the left is listed here. If you hover over each object, it highlights the relevant HTML code. You can extend functionality and look and feel by bringing your own JavaScript charts, JavaScript libraries, and CSS into the respective panels. So unlike other tools, code mode does not require a developer to learn a new language. In addition, the visual drag and drop and code mode work seamlessly together. With the new action buttons, you can simply drag and drop them onto the canvas and modify its properties accordingly. Besides the look and feel, you can wire up out-of-the-box Yellowfin actions here, like resetting the dashboard, going to previous and next subtabs, exporting, having a new URL, and more. If you want to extend the action button to connect to other apps via APIs and trigger actions, you can do so with code mode. For example, I can see my star performers here, but if I want to go somewhere else and view more about whiskies, I click on it, which brings me to this new whiskey tab. I can see everything about that. But one thing you'll notice is, what is this panel on the right? This is a code widget. Developers can now embed any analytical experience they want into our dashboards, embedded forms that take Yellowfin into other systems, or pumping it through AI apps that give us predictive values back here. It's all up to you. We've brought our signals product into the dashboard as a code widget, and it's contextual, so you only see relevant signals for this whiskey data. And let's click into this signal for this particular brand. You've probably seen all of this before, but here I can explore a signal for a selected brand. I have access to my related metrics and correlations if I have any. At the bottom, I can collaborate with others around this signal and see how relevant this is according to my role and access in my data. I can also see what contributed to this spike through assisted insights, generating auto charts and narratives explaining why this signal happened. And if I want to get a story going, I simply add the signal to it and get everyone in my business on the same page. I can also rate the usefulness of this signal and help train the engine to increase relevance and personalization. But let's get back to the Whiskies tab and go back to our starting point. Now, before we've seen action buttons that trigger out-of-the-box Yellowfin actions, but what about to external applications and APIs? Well, let's have a look at the Website Tracker tab next. This is a simple dashboard that tracks website visits for a particular company, and I can see there's a big drop-off at the end. Over here in the bottom left, I can see the website nodes across regions and their uptimes. And there's a huge problem here. The node for Latin America is offline and has only been up 96% of the time. So who do I talk to? Do I call someone or email someone? Do I try to log a request on another system? I don't know, it's cumbersome. Well, with our new action buttons, it's super easy. Simply select the relevant data. Our content API has access to this, populates the form, embed it with code mode, and then all we do is type in a comment and get our IT guys to fix it. And then we click OK. The action here raises a ticket in Jira with the API and receives the confirmation here. So we click on it, and just like that, a Jira ticket raised from our dashboard without leaving the platform. It is the totality of code mode, the content API, and action buttons that makes this so special. And it's not just about embedded BI, it's the inverse as well. With Yellowfin 9, you get actionable dashboards that can embed any data entry and transaction processing functionality into your analytics. So what makes code mode, content API, and action buttons so special? Well, in Yellowfin 9, we're giving devs the ability to create and integrate experiences using these features. They can also use low-code and no-code widget templates, which can be reused by other authors in the enterprise. And lastly, bring some really unique and engaging experiences on a dashboard to connect insight to action.
As you saw from Ivan's demonstration, you can basically create stunning dashboards that are built around the experience of your end users or customers. Think about how you jump from data to application, from the building stage all the way through to ultimate action. This can now be streamlined within the one application. So really opening up the value you could potentially provide to a large organization. So with that, we're going to go to the second part of the big release, which is Yellowfin Present. Now we know how much effort goes into securing applications, and that goes out the window as soon as people cut and paste into PowerPoint. Now Present ensures that we're governing these data-led communications end to end. Now they contain live data that's fully interactive and the same rich experience that Ivan just presented moments ago on the dashboards. And it enables real-time collaboration across presentations. Now Present is one of two parts of how we look at data storytelling. You have the longer form contextual analysis in stories, and you've got human-led presentations, which we're facilitating essentially all the ways a business would communicate with data. Now with Present, you're able to create beautiful presentations using the same pluggable framework as you just saw with the new dashboard builder. Now these presentations are inheriting all the security of the platform, so users will only see the data they're allowed to see. So now across to Ivan, and let's see it in action.
Thanks, Dan. This is an exciting change. Goodbye storyboards and hello Present. The biggest change, like Dan said, is that Present will now be built using the same dashboard builder. It has the best of both dashboard canvas and code mode, meaning business users can create great presentations combining all these reports, images, and widgets, and if desired, extend the presentation using code mode to drive action. So what is the impact? YF9 will help users create data presentations that are unmatched. Users can build presentations once, refresh the data in those presentations as often as needed automatically. Hundreds of hours will be saved on executive report preparation, and you have up-to-date data and improved quality by eliminating errors that could occur from copying and pasting into PowerPoint or other systems. And last but not least, secure within a governed information architecture, meaning that data is only seen by those who have the right access, as well as a powerful collaboration infrastructure, enabling real-time feedback and discussion. And there you have it. There are a whole lot more of enhancements in this release, and we couldn't possibly go through every single one today. However, in the next session, Brad Scarf, our CTO, is going to go through some of these additional features in his developer showcase, so please check it out there. And with that, it's back to Dan.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. We will just go back to the other PowerPoint view here. Hopefully everyone is still with us. Obviously, that was a snapshot of what's coming up in the Yellowfin Virtual Summit and a whole lot more. Ivan, are you still with us?
Yep.
Very good. Okay, let's just go and share the deck again. All right. Can you see the deck now, Ivan?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So before we step through that, so what we're going to do, Ivan will be doing most of the talking. I will interrupt here and there, so he isn't stuck doing the whole thing. If you do have a question, please jump in. Depending on time, we may have to push questions to the end, but if there's something urgent, we would like this to be interactive, so please feel free to jump in with some questions along the way. Ivan, I'll pass over to you.
Cool. Thanks, Corey. I don't think I'll ever get used to hearing myself again and again. It's a little bit cringy, but anyway. Yeah, so hopefully that was useful for you guys. I mean, that's something that we are going to present in the Yellowfin Innovate Summit in a few days. And ultimately, there is a lot of goodies in Yellowfin 9. And if we were to sort of talk about every single one, I think we'll be here until tomorrow. So that's pretty much why we had to choose ultimately 7 major features. And the first one is Dashboard Canvas. For those of you who have been with Yellowfin for a long time, you know, both as a partner or a customer, you would have known that we had Canvas capability in our report builder for quite some time. And in this release, we have brought that across to the dashboard as well. So a number of you guys have asked for this for quite some time, and we're doing that now in this release. As part of that, we are actually enhancing, you know, the whole thing, you know, as part of a dashboard revamp. So it is pretty much, you know, in terms of marketing speak, you know, we are breaking the grid, and the grid being our usual dashboard layouts where you choose the, you know, the 2 columns or the 3 columns, and I'm sure of the 6 different options that you have when you're choosing a dashboard layout. We're introducing the canvas there so that, you know, customers and partners can actually use our dashboard builder to build whatever they want. And that applies to customers who have been asking for this for quite some time. Richard, you might want to just mute yourself for a bit if you're making yourself a cup of tea. Yep. And yeah, so we have, you know, again, global customers who have been asking for this. And again, a great example is Seek in APAC. So Seek's pretty much the largest job ad site in the country here. And, you know, they have, you know, integrated and embedded Yellowfin into their application and their platform. And it's, you know, highly white labeled. People don't know it's Yellowfin. You know, they were one of the first few clients to really push the envelope in terms of dashboard design. And they actually had they still have a full developer team who ultimately go, you know, just give me the ability to write my own code so I can extend the dashboard functionality to, you know, to include whatever look and feel that I like, or to bring in integrations with other Seek applications and other Seek platforms to extend that workflow. So they were one of the first few beta customers who ultimately drove this functionality here. And we're allowing to do that. So we're allowing, partners and customers to arrange the dashboard whichever way they like, rather than from a limited number of fixed templates. Finally introducing pixel perfect design at the dashboard level. And then you'll find through the demos here that the dashboard canvas ultimately enables all the other good things that you see. So blueprint, quick charts, code mode, code widgets, and actions. And really over here is just providing the ability for people to extend dashboard functionality, to existing look and feel, but also to provide a more seamless customer experience. Corey, do you want me to just open this up for Q&A, or do you want to just sort of leave that towards the end?
Yeah, people can jump in. I just wanted to add something there, Ivan. Obviously from the video, we saw the beautiful Mercurio dashboard, which was, according to our designers, pretty easy to whip together now that we have the canvas. So I think this is the big jump in, we've had these grid-based dashboards, but now we can really bring in, whether it's enterprise or ISV, we can bring in designers and UX people and really make things that are completely out of the box. We have thinking that can be out of the box rather than taking our dashboards that are out of the box. But it's amazing the flexibility and the freedom that we actually have. The other thing you'll just see in the notes there, supporting points number 1, and Ivan mentioned the Seek example, Seek being a local company here in Australia. We do have a white paper coming out which will have that Seek example in there. I'm not sure, Ivan, if it'll be ready by Thursday, but it will be ready in the near future. So please watch out for that one.
Cool. Next.
All right. Yeah. And, well, any questions before we move on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose the $1 million question, when is this available, guys?
Yeah, so the Yellowfin 9 is available for demo and beta testing at the moment. There are some features that will be in beta until early next year, so probably looking at January, February. And basically that's what we're working with at the moment. So the launch, we're obviously still announcing Yellowfin 9. Majority of it is ready, but for actual deployments, we will aim to have everything as stable as possible. It is obviously a major release for us, so we do want everything to be as perfect as possible, so we're not in a rush to push it out. So at this stage, there will be some features in beta until January, February next year. Anything to add there, Ivan?
No, I think you've covered that pretty well.
Okay, well, let's move on. Still plenty of time to jump in, folks, so don't worry about that.
Right. Yeah, and the next one is Blueprint. Now, Blueprint's actually, if you almost look at it, it's quite nuanced because of how simple it is. But ultimately, it is to answer that need where you probably find a lot of business users when you ask them to suggest a dashboard to you, from a business, design me one, and then they whip out a pen and paper and they start drawing stuff on a piece of paper, or they try to draw on an MS Paint or whatever tool that they have, and they email you a picture of that. Blueprint is simply a solution for that. It's to not only allow that sketching to remain within our government platform, but it's also allowing the analysts and developers who ultimately build from that to work from the same specification within Yellowfin. So you're not drawing something and emailing something to someone. Everyone's looking at the same thing. So it's the same government prototype, but we're also then folding in our collaboration features, which are as quite industry leading. So allowing, as you saw from the demo, people to type conversations into the attached activity stream. People could type annotations as part of every single widget that they drag into Blueprint. One key thing to note as part of Blueprint, all the other widgets that you see on the left are also available to the user to drag in. So if the business user feels like they want to drag in some text widgets or some mock images to sort of let the people know how they want it built, they can do that. But it's really allowing people to, I would say, within the business to sort of design what they feel is the dashboard that meets the business need, even if they don't really know how to build it. And then the people down the track who know how to build things would then simply work from, the same specification. And all of this is, obviously tying in collaboration across teams, regardless of location, and then all done securely and governed within Yellowfin. So really allowing people to build some bespoke analytics easier and faster. Any questions around this spot before I go to quick charts?
Just while we've got the thinking music on there, folks, you may notice we mentioned there were some notes down below. We have added for each slide a key takeaway. So the aim of this is not necessarily to pronounce whatever the text is there, but just sometimes there is a slogan in there, which is or something that sounds more like a slogan, is a bit more memorable. But the aim here is that this is the impression that we want to leave the viewer with, or the prospect with. So for this one, the blueprint helps the business user clearly articulate their needs. I think sums it up. And there are, as you can see, there's 6 supporting points. The one I think is worth mentioning is the specifically for ISV. And I think the ability here to, Ivan mentioned bespoke analytics. If you're an ISV and you've got customers where the ISV is actually doing some of the data analytics for that customer, this is something where the ISV can not only provide bespoke analytics, but also go back and forth and collaborate with that customer. So I think it's a very powerful tool, and like a lot of things you'll see today, there are probably more uses than we've even dreamed up, which is fantastic. So any questions before we move on? Sorry, Ivan, go on.
No, I was just about to say, for partners who carry out quick start packages, I mean, Blueprint is probably a very good way to get everyone's buy-in in terms of the design and how things should flow on a dashboard as well.
All right, let's move on to quick charts.
Cool. All right. So again, quick charts can be used either off a blueprint or not. So it's not married to blueprint. Dragging one of these charts straight into the dashboard and then being able to build a chart straight from that is essentially the value prop here. So what we're really doing here is offering less steps and a much faster way to build charts. And so again, in order to sort of recognize what this is, requires a little bit of context as to where we came from. So Yellowfin was always, quite powerful in terms of the report builder. I would even stress that we possibly might have the most powerful report builder out there in terms of functionality and what you can do to the actual table. And then building charts from that tabular data, multiple charts from it, then gave birth to the canvas on a report. While it's being very powerful, there are certain segments of customers and partners who just wanted to build a chart straight away. And through that workflow in Yellowfin currently, though powerful, it might have given the impression that there's a few extra steps needed. So this is simply a new entry path for people who just simply want visualizations on a dashboard and not to worry too much about the report. So as you've seen from the demo, and hopefully it was very clear, we are starting and sort of pursuing this with an 80-20 rule. So 80% of what you currently are doing in your current creation process, through the report builder and building charts, you should be able to do all that visualization in the chart builder here. Some things that weren't super obvious in the panel was that you not only be able to choose dimensions and metrics and do dual axes and all that, you'll also be able to apply things like advanced functions and to also set filters as well. So unless you're performing things like true data discovery or advanced reporting, you would usually be here rather than going to the report builder. So we're kind of following that paradigm where you would actually spend most of your time at a dashboard now, rather than going through the report builder for every single piece of asset and then dropping them into the dashboard. And again, this is just, it's not specifically say, an ISV or an enterprise play. It is simply increasing ease of use here.
Yeah, and I think, Ivan, one thing that I've heard repeatedly is that we everyone was looking for faster ways to do things with less clicks, versus competitors or just in general in terms of ease of use. So this certainly brings speed into the product, which is fantastic.
Yep. And one thing that isn't really, spelled out in the actual demo itself, and that's simply because it is a little bit too small of an item to sort of share the same stage as a major feature. But there has been a lot of work that's gone into the actual background process of chart building. If you build a chart today in Yellowfin 8, whilst there's a lot of configuration in the chart builder, you do need to, set your own padding and maybe change the font for, your charts. And people who build a lot of charts within Yellowfin will understand both the power of the options and both the pain as well. Be needing to turn off grid lines and change titles when they want, or change colors. So we're actually making all of that very simple with what we call smart chart defaults, so that whether you're choosing a horizontal bar chart or a pie or a scatter plot, it comes with a pre-saved template that the chart look very, very nice out of the box, so that we actually cut down 10 formatting things down to maybe 1 or 2, so that it actually looks good out of the box rather than having you to format it before it does. You want to go to the next slide, Corey? Yeah. So again, I won't read out the impact here. I mean, obviously you've seen that in the actual video, but together here, it is very much something that we've built in Yellowfin 9 to not only help business users bridge that gap with analysts and developers, so that firstly, they all collaborate together on what we call governed prototyping through Blueprint, but also analysts and developers, actually knowing what they need to build and building it faster with quick charts, so they can actually just simply work from the same specification directly in the dashboard, and not on pen and paper and emails and all that. So it's just in this area here, less clicks, less steps, high ease of use for all parties involved.
All right, so that's I mentioned at the start, folks, we've sort of broken this into 3 sections. That's the first section there, the dashboards, the 3 slides, plus the impact slide that contributed there. Any questions before we move on to the next section? Okay, pass back to you, Ivan.
All right. So yeah, so that, as you can see, very much for business users and analysts in the first section. The second section is very much dedicated to developers, or however you want to call them. Your builders, your developers, your power builders. It is very much for these guys. In fact, whilst we will talk about this in isolation, code mode, code widgets, and actions, while they each have their own value props, it is the totality of all 3 features that I'm going to talk about next that ultimately offers what we call the secret sauce for creating actionable analytics. The first is being code mode. So code mode is essentially a new mode on the canvas level where people can click on a button and then switch modes from visual drag and drop to the code mode you see in front of you. So having the HTML window, the JavaScript window, and the CSS. It is very much a bi-directional or a bilateral editor, meaning you can start with drag and drop first, and then later on extend functionality of code mode just by swapping the modes. Or you can start with code mode straight away, and then at some time you go, hang on, I actually want to drag something in rather than write the code. They can switch to visual. Now, anything you do on each mode automatically affects the other result-wise. So if you drag a piece of report onto the canvas, it will generate the right code in code mode. If I use that piece of code and change something like background color equals red, and I switch back to visual mode, the chart background will change to red immediately. So there's no thing stopping you from switching between modes at any time when you're creating a dashboard. The second key important point here is that we are helping developers simply by not letting them even need to learn a language to use code mode. It is driven by common dev languages that every dev knows, hopefully, which is HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, the building blocks of every single web app in the world, really. So we're not, for example, forcing developers to learn different languages, like say, so if you look at Looker's recent version that they released, Looker 7, they're rolling out things where it goes, oh, you need to learn, Swift and Kotlin for mobile development. If you want to, create some really crazy Looker dashboards, you need to learn TypeScript. Funnily enough, a lot of these languages that they release, that they talk about here, are pretty much Google preferred. But over here, it's common dev languages. It's HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. Everyone knows this. And code mode can be used to create dashboards that are not just on brand, and very easily match corporate style guides, but also to extend functionality as much as you want. So when you go extend what kind of functionality, then, besides look and feel, you can extend, the widgets that fall on the canvas. So that can be, action buttons. If you write some specific things that you want to sort of make into a reusable template, you can put that into a code widget, which we'll talk about in the next slide. But the key messaging here is openness and flexibility, which a lot of our customers have been asking for. They just want to go to the next step, building that actionable analytical application, and code mode is a great way to enable people to do that. So really, the key tagline here is, if you can think it, you can build it with code mode. Anything else you want to add, Corey?
Well, mainly that's my favourite tagline out of the whole presentation. So I think we should fixate on that a little bit. Yeah, if you can think it, you can build it, and it's a little bit aspirational, but I think this is essentially what this is. Code mode just takes us to a place that we've never imagined before, and we just can't even dream up at the moment all the things that can be done here. But yeah, actionable dashboards is what we're going through, and we'll see more as we get into the next section. But the ability to change everything right down at the code level is going to give us a lot of power and a lot of advantages, which is fantastic. But yeah, maybe we jump into ask if there's any questions at this point.
Will there be any example shipped with code mode?
Yes. So if I heard you right, would there be any examples being released with part of this release? Yes. So I think the thing with these sort of frameworks is, because it's so flexible, people can't really imagine how far they can go. So yes, we will be releasing and talking about a few different examples. Key ones being, new ways of filtering. People can use code mode to extend filters to, change from your normal text checkboxes to things like, if you want to click on, the various places within the EMEA, I want to click on, the picture of a state or a picture of a city rather than clicking on the word. You could do that with code mode here, and then we'll release a few examples to sort of walk people through, the art of the possible.
Perfect, thank you.
That's all right. And you probably have noticed that little third point there on the code mode slide, contextual and state-aware content API. What does that mean? Is essentially a new JavaScript API. So, the JavaScript API that, you guys are used to embed dashboards, we've completely refreshed that. So not only can you use that to embed content outside of Yellowfin, but it's also now a lot more flexible. So you can do things like, besides embed multi-tenant content, you can sort of set filters using the API itself, or to onload do something, or on complete do something else. And that same API is also accessible within code mode inside Yellowfin. So you can actually code event listeners that actually tag on to separate objects, including the canvas itself. So this opens up to a lot of scenarios that can be crafted. One example that we're currently coding, as an example, is a performance recorder in Yellowfin. So if I load a dashboard of 6 objects, now with the new JavaScript API, I know exactly when something starts and when something ends, and at each start and end point, I could write something to a database, like say runtimes. So then I can figure out exactly how long each report and dashboard takes to run, how long the entire dashboard runs, what is the SQL running for each object, what it is generating, because I can actually return the data and the chart widget as well as part of the object. So again, a whole plethora of things that I can do here with the JavaScript API. And they're all state aware. So that means each object on that dashboard example, they're actually aware of each other and accessible via the API at any time.
Just jump in, Corey, I see that Gustav's put a question in the chat box. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, I just found that. Thank you, Jean. So,
great, thank you.
Yeah, question is, can code mode dashboards be printed and or exported?
Yep, yes, they can for both. So a code mode within a dashboard is simply any other dashboard. So it can be exported, yes, into the YFX files. The code mode itself, if you copy it, technically can be pasted into another instance as well, provided you have all the objects the same way on the target instance as well. Generally, everything generates their own UUID, so you do have to tinker with the Canvas UUID if you want to do that, but you can. We also have developers here who ultimately just copy the code, the stuff you have in code mode, and paste it into a text file somewhere, or save it into GitLab. And then at some other time, you sort of recreate a dashboard using code mode that way as well. Just like all other things, you can print a dashboard. You can print a PDF, yes. But for, I think, normal JavaScript things, we're still sort of working on that, or I would say guardrailing the experience, because trying to print something that's animated is not exactly quite possible yet. But yeah, ultimately you will be able to print a dashboard to PDF, and we are looking into broadcasting a dashboard as well. Cool.
Okay, very good. All right, shall we move on to code widgets?
Mm-hmm. So again, code widgets is, it ultimately achieves two things. So it does provide a reusable way for external applications to come into Yellowfin. For example, we've always been used to the idea of embedded BI. You take something out of Yellowfin, you put it into another app where they need analytics, and then that's what embedded BI is, right? When someone does something in some CRM or HCM or ERP, you bring embeddable BI there. Now, code widgets enables the reverse. So you bring data entry, processing functionality, or any sort of app functionality out there via an API into Yellowfin, so that users can ultimately have a seamless workflow within Yellowfin. So you're bringing that magic inside, and then code widgets is a way to bridge that gap between applications outside within Yellowfin. And we're powering that with a extensible framework, very much the same widget framework like transformation steps. If you use data prep a lot, we bring in, for example, integrations with H2O.ai or Apache ML. We bring that functionality to Yellowfin via similar widget frameworks that's being used here. What that really does is allowing people to create a library of widgets built in code mode. If they want to sort of reuse that across the enterprise by other dashboard authors, they can make that into a code widget and simply allow people to load widgets via the plugin manager. And then you can then reuse anything that you've done in code mode in other business departments. Or if you're a partner who specializes and you have a few dev leads who can ultimately commercialize this, then code widgets is a great way for you to bring that sort of seamless integration for your Yellowfin customers or for your other customers, and ultimately power that through either our Yellowfin marketplace and make that available to other people to use as well. What it enables people to do is really, the whole pushing and pulling of data. You can either push data from Yellowfin into other applications automatically, like the way you saw that example with a Jira ticket. Website was down in Latin America. I click a button, it grabs the data, and anything I enter into that form is embedded via code mode, and it enters via the Jira API and raising a task, right? So that's a typical incident management task raising event. But then you could also then do the other way, which is you pull data from other applications through the code widgets into Yellowfin. And that opens up to anything, right? So you can go Salesforce forms, you could go any third-party application buttons, or even bring in things like social media feeds. It really, the sky's the limit here, just like code mode. And really, it is offering that low code, no code widget framework for authors to ultimately bring into the Elephant dashboards. Any questions here before I move on to actions?
All right, just a quick note on some of the supporting points there. Obviously, we're sort of in the infancy again of code widgets, and I think obviously in Yellowfin ourselves, we'll build up a series of code widgets. But I imagine too, for bigger enterprise customers, this will be an opportunity for the builders and the data analysts to really sort of build some commonly used tasks or events that they can push out right across the enterprise as well. So I think it's again something we can only begin to imagine what will happen. But any questions before we move on? All right, so yeah, Sean's just a note there. I think the opportunity for partners to build their own widgets is certainly a great opportunity. Obviously, some of our partners specialize in different areas, and that is certainly an area where partners can go ahead, build their own widgets that they roll out to multiple customers, whether it be in the same vertical or just because they have spent the time and money developing them themselves. So yeah, definitely an opportunity there. Okay, Ivan, actions.
All right. So yeah. So again, actions ultimately close the loop in analytics, as we call it. So it is ultimately the next frontier for, I think, actionable analytics. Because we've come to the point where you get all the data, you get all the insights, and then you turn around to the business and you go, so what? Right? What do I do with that now? Do I pick up the phone, call someone? Do I email someone? Do I send a Slack message and get something happening? There's a disconnect there. So actions really allow us to close the loop on the actionable dashboards. And ultimately, it is that trigger point that creates that seamless workflow within the Yellowfin dashboard, to other systems. I think you'll see from Glenn's keynote on Thursday for the summit where there seems to be a trend, a wrong trend where, BI vendors and other application vendors seem to force users to keep logging in and out of different systems to achieve what should be a seamless workflow. And then we're essentially offering the solution to cut all that out. So, rather than your user cutting and pasting data between applications into Google Docs or, logging out of a BI tool into Salesforce and looking at the same record and doing something there, you can do all that leaving the dashboard now. So really, it's ultimately, if you look at it from a business user scenario, anything that a business user does repetitively every day can be automated using code mode, code widgets, and action buttons. So as we said before, it is ultimately, three of the things that you see, code mode, code widgets, and actions. When they're all used together, it really gives that ability to integrate, functionality from outside, create seamless workflows, and action buttons ultimately do something. And that's essentially what it is. So we do have two classes of action buttons here. We have one action button that can, trigger, internal Yellowfin events. And, you saw from the menu in the demo, it is still something that's being worked on. So right now we have simple actions that allow people to traverse dashboard tabs, go from next or previous dashboard tabs, or to reset a dashboard with all the filters, or to even export something. So we will keep adding more and more out of the box actions there. But ultimately, if you want to go to a completely different tangent, you can just drop a action button into the canvas and then via code mode, supply your own JavaScript, code there and CSS and make it do whatever you want, essentially. And that's basically what it does. Any questions around this bit or any of the previous three features that you want to sort of ask about? Feel free.
So just one comment from me there, Ivan. I think one of the things I love here is just the very simple use case of any business user that does a repetitive task. This can be automated. So we can build, whether it be a widget or just in code mode with an action button. It may be sending information out, it might be dragging information in, but basically staying within the BI tool, they can hit a button, enter some text, whatever they need to do with a simple action, and then continue working rather than having to cut and paste, swap out, move from close one system and open another. It's amazing to be able to just automate basic stuff. A few more comments there. Simple things like resetting filters. This must be close to somebody's heart. All right, the impact there. Ivan, you want to talk to that one?
Yeah, sure. So ultimately code mode, code widgets, and actions, it is very much geared towards, in terms of the creation aspect, is very much geared towards developers to build or integrate anything they wish using languages that they already know. So they're not learning anything to take advantage of these features. They can do that from day one. And then ultimately encapsulate that with our widget capabilities. So they can actually provide low code, no code widgets for either power users downstream or to other dashboard authors who might not want to repeat what they've done. They just want to simply drag in a template or a widget. They can do that. This is going to be key for people who use maybe data science and predictive analytics, where they just want a code widget that says, churn analysis widget or market basket analysis widget, that sort of thing. And then simply, tack that on to their dashboards, and then they click a button and then, the predictors come out. So it almost becomes like a little black box of predictive analytics that they could just use on a dashboard. And then actions, ultimately, they cap it off. So it is that seamless experience that ultimately connects insights to action and action to any other application that they want.
All right, great stuff. So that is the last part of actionable dashboards there. Before we move on to present, does anybody have any questions they'd like to jump in with?
Yeah, real quick one, Ivan. Can you put an action behind an image, for example?
Yes, you can. So it doesn't need to be an action button that you drag on to Yellowfin. That's a great question, actually. Actually, with code mode, you can turn anything that's on a canvas that's clickable and can act as a trigger to anything. Which is why you can do things like, clicking on images to refilter a dashboard, clicking on a state image to filter a report another way, and even click on turn any image, into some sort of trigger. That really is up to you.
Lovely, thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's it. The people who start using code mode will realize that very quickly. The action buttons is very much I would almost say a placeholder button for people to get the concept as a placeholder button. But really, anything you drag onto it can be turned into an action button. Really.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think you will start to see a bit of creativity similar to the way we move around websites these days, and now we'll just start to see all of that typical navigation sort of concepts being applied to dashboards, which is pretty cool.
Mm.
All right. So final section here, which is a little bit shorter, but let's take a look at Yellowfin Present.
So I won't repeat the stuff that Dan already talked about on this slide. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. For some of our customers and partners here who have been with us for a couple of years, would have known that we were, essentially first to market with Storyboard, and first to market coming up with an ability to create data-rich presentations, which is great, but it's something that we didn't quite revisit for quite some time after, because we were shoring out functionality in other areas. So I think Yellowfin 9 is just one of the ways that we've come back and just really capped off the storytelling functionality within Yellowfin. So we came out with stories in Yellowfin 8, which was great for people to, write article-like formats of, what we call long-form analysis. And in businesses that responded to that, they respond to that really well, but there's also other parts of the business who want to be presented to via a human-led presentations, and Yellowfin Present is a great way to do that. So that's why we sort of came back and revisited Storyboard, because while it's powerful, it was not very extensible ultimately. So as part of that, we essentially centralized the building experience to be part of the dashboard builder, because ultimately, if you think about it, you are dragging and dropping the same things into Yellowfin storyboards, into slides. You are dragging reports. You are dragging text widgets and titles and all that. So ultimately, it is pretty much building like a dashboard on a canvas. The only difference is the actual transition. So a dashboard goes up and down when you scroll. The presentation simply goes left and right. So your transitions are different. And we've then pluginized that too. So right now, in out of the box Yellowfin 9, you get your normal arrow buttons which go left and right. But over time, you'll be able to insert your own plugins to dictate what the transition should be. So you can do things like scrollytelling, which is like zooming into a particular part of the canvas to tell a specific story, and then zooming out, that sort of thing. That should be available to you pretty soon. But ultimately, we saw an opportunity here to refresh Storyboard and then rebrand it as Present, because of the fact that you can now include all the things you saw before via code mode, code widgets, actions, canvas, all that into Yellowfin Present. And ultimately, with both stories and Present, the storytelling functionality in Yellowfin is very much quite complete. So if you go to the next slide, Corey. Ultimately, all the key value props and key advantages of Storyboard still play into Present. So you'll be able to use live and snapshot data on each slide. Each slide can connect to each other via the filters, so that if you are an ISV that provides N1 board reporting as part of your competitive offering to your customers, your multi-tenant customers can simply log into essentially the same presentation deck, except that will be filtered differently depending on who they are. That still happens. You still have interactive analytics on your Present. You can still collaborate in real time using Activity Stream. And all your governance and role level security still kicks in on Present, because it's ultimately a dashboard. And then it saves you time. So you don't really need to learn a new way to create Presents, because you already know how to build dashboards. So it'll be the same. The key thing here is that we didn't quite spell it out loud, and because that's still emerging functionality, is that because it's built with the new dashboard builder, you have access to code mode and code widgets. And funnily enough, in our beta testing with customers, some of our customers have unveiled some pretty interesting scenarios where they started using the code mode here to power their presentations in new ways. So they could present data, and in one slide saying, actually asking the stakeholders, what is your decision here? Based on what you know now, do you vote yes for this campaign? Do you vote no? And then they made people click on yes or no buttons on the slide, because they can now. And in the next slide, compute and record that data and actually present it back to the stakeholder saying, out of 50 people who viewed the presentation deck, 73% of you voted yes to this decision. So they could see the outcome straight away. And even do different sort of actions within presentation decks. Another one had an idea of actually clicking a button to record a voice clip for each slide, which will be played when a person comes to the slide as a consumer. So again, some pretty new ways of actually presenting data to people, especially people who expect presentations.
Yeah, and I think, Ivan, a big one for me is just probably the most obvious and common use case, which is if you're a finance team, if you're a sales team, if you're any team that has to present a report at the end of the month, it says here's what's happened. You've now got a repeatable, reusable tool that's collaborative. The data stays current, so even if it takes you a week to send it around the team for everybody to add their comments and their charts or whatever it is, the data is still secure and it's relevant, and it just makes life so much easier. So I think that's going to be a massive, that's an obvious use case, but that's a massive one. But yeah, some of the creative stuff you're talking about is fantastic, whether it's audio or animating things, etc. So once again, this is as much about letting our imaginations go, and we want to see how partners and customers use this and the ideas that come back. So please, as you talk to prospects and customers about this and partners, please share all of this information back, because it is very powerful stuff, and the more that we hear, the more we can reuse.
That's right.
All right, I'm just noticing a comment coming through. Question: using Present, will it be possible to gather comments coming from an external application to comment on the graphs reports in the user context?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a code widget that again pulls data from anywhere, and this could be from other collaboration streams or other collaboration tools, you could very much unify that comment into a slide if you wish as well. Yeah, definitely. There's another question here. Will YF9 be backwards compatible and upgradable from previous releases? You can certainly upgrade a YF8 instance to 9. As part of the installer and the upgrader, it will convert content to the new way that we're doing things here. There are a few things that we are deprecating. So if you have been using KPI reports on your dashboard, you know, the ones that give you that spark lines, as well as report summaries on your report, where you get a nice little ring chart with the you know, the change in time and a little line chart as a little card at the top. We are deprecating those. That doesn't mean you can't access them. You will be able to after you upgrade, except that KPI reports and report summaries in dashboard will only remain in read-only mode. You can't edit them. And the reason why we've sort of done that is because you know, with Canvas mode, you can essentially build report summaries and KPI reports very, very easily. In fact, we're actually in the process of actually making KPI reports into a code widget. So you can just drag them into your Canvas and it builds that card for you automatically. So you wouldn't need to sort of use that functionality from previous releases. All of your storyboards will still be there. They'll just simply be you know, converted into Present. Obviously, new way, you won't be able to create storyboards anymore because they're obviously Present now, so you can create those. But all storyboards will remain in read-only mode as a new Present. Yes, Richard, a report can be used multiple times on the same dashboard. I think that's probably a good trigger to pull up the What's New page, Corey.
Okay, sorry, it was on mute. Yeah, it was on mute there. Let me just swap that over for us.
Yep.
Doing things in a different order.
Yeah. So again, great question, guys. You know, again, YF9 is a huge release. So we did have to choose major features that we lead the release with in terms of positioning and messaging. But yes, you know, there are things that we included here that would obviously benefit you guys a lot. So the concept of reusing a report multiple times on the same dashboard, that's what we call report branching. If you scroll down a little bit, Corey, that is simply where you could essentially use a report as an application to power your entire dashboard by reusing different things in a report that you built before. So if you have like a report that currently has like, you know, 12 different kinds of charts built on a canvas, you can not only use the canvas or a table, but you can also use individual charts on your new dashboard canvas. And the real advantage here is that it will only run the report query once, because YF9 detects that it's the same report with the same filters and everything. So run the report and hold and cache the data in memory and allow you to reuse you know, any pieces or objects on the dashboard accessing the cache. Other things also that are included as part of this release is enabling people to use snapshots and bookmarks in dashboards. You can be able to drag those into your dashboard. You can also bookmark a dashboard itself. So if you filter your dashboard to say, you know, look for data in Germany all the time, you can just bookmark that and then other users can access that. If you scroll down a little bit more, Corey, maybe a little bit more. Yeah, so besides the restart filters, a key thing is auto-linking for filters. So, you know, for the power builders on the call, I'm sure you've been clicking a lot in analytics setup to connect, multiple filters from multiple reports in the same dashboard. You no longer need to do that. That will be done for you automatically from now on. So as long as the report's from the same view, the moment you drag a report to the dashboard, Yellowfin will automatically wire the filters from all your parent reports all the way down to your child reports automatically. And you can also go back to the window and see how it's done for you by the machine, and you can manually change it as well if you like. And if you scroll down, you can, at any point in the dashboard builder process, create a new report, edit any report that's on the dashboard. And just like stories, when you click OK and save something, the Yellowfin recognize that you came from a creation aspect from somewhere else, and it offers to return you back to where you came from. So there'll be a quick access button taking you back to your dashboard. So it's a bit of a more seamless workflow when you're creating things. And if you scroll down, you can use a same report multiple times on the dashboard now. People who used to have one table in a report and go, I want to drag this in different ways, they couldn't do that. You can do that now. So, with current bookmarking and snapshotting functionality in reports, you can actually technically bookmark a report, filter differently, and you reuse the same report multiple times on the dashboard if you like. And if you scroll all the way down, we have undo redo. So for the keyboard warriors out there who like to Control Z and Control Y, you'll be able to do that. And yeah, some of the other smart chart defaults which we talked about just now, to actually let you create some great looking charts out of the box. We are also introducing a new font that will be used globally in the application called Libre Franklin, which is a great font, so that we actually take away some of the Times New Roman and the Arials from various places. That's now centralized into one font. It's used everywhere, which you can also change. If you like to bring in your own fonts, you can simply just drop that font into a plugin manager, and then Yellowfin will use that automatically, or you can select that if you like. So again, some key ways to help people keep things on brand very, very easily.
Yeah, so this page on the website is fantastic. So it's obviously a very, very long page and quite a lot of information, but the team has done a wonderful job. So if you're looking for it, it is in the products page, what's new in Yellowfin 9. So please have a poke around on the website. There is some great information in there. We do have a question about the newer version. So Jürgen saying we have the 8.1 beta. There seems to be a newer version. When will it be available? Correct me if I'm wrong, Ivan, but there is a aim to have a...
it's actually the same. So for people who were using the 8.1 beta, it is essentially it's the same beta, just that we have incremented the number to 9 due to the number of new enhancements and features that we rolled out. And it was a decision taken internally that it warranted a new number increment. So it is the same beta, just that it's called 9 now rather than 8.1.
Yeah, and I think if the question is around the version of the beta that's being used, if you're looking for the latest version, there will be a stable version. The aim is to release that on Friday. So chat to your team at Yellowfin, whoever your contact is, and we'll organise to get the latest version set up for you. So I think
just to add to that, I believe Brad's managing this beta process personally. So as Corey says, when a new beta build is available on Friday, we should get some comms from Brad to all of our customers who are already in the beta program. For the new ones, let us know. We'll add you to the program, and then we can keep updating you as we go along.
Very good. Yeah, we'll aim to have some comms out to all the regions with details of that later this week. All right, folks. Sorry, just hit the mute button at an appropriate time there. as I was clearing my throat. Any questions before we finish up?
In fact, Jürgen's just posted a question I was going to ask about. I think you've recorded this, Corey, so the question's around could we distribute not just the recording, but also a copy of the slide deck itself?
Yeah, definitely. So the slide deck for Yellowfin people is already up on the asset registry matrix on Honduras. So that's already available there. And we will... yes, we'll make a recording of the video available. I'll let you do that distribution, Jean, for all the partners.
Yeah, no, that's great. No, thank you. That's lovely. And just on also, I think Gustav has posted a question that you've just answered. The other one was around collateral. You know, when we'll have some, you know, maybe a Yellowfin 9 brochure that's available to send to either own customers or prospects, summarising all of the new features.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I know the website, the major website changes will be ready by this summit. I haven't actually got a date on the brochure, but it should be very close. If it's not finished this week, it'll be finished next week. But let me double check on that one, and I will let you know a target date for that one.
I can add to that. So the brochure will be ready by summit day. Yeah, so design is just adding some finishing touches to it, but really the brochure is just a mirror image of what you get from the website, really, especially the what's new page. So I know it's something that is easily passable among people, but if you redirect them to the website, they get the same goodness as well. And also, you know, collateral, you know, to use some of these features, you know, the wiki will be updated at summit day. That covers, I would say, you know, 90% of what we talked about today here. Obviously, there will be some dev-centric framework collateral that will be released, you know, specifically around code widgets. You know, training people on how to, you know, use the code widgets if they like to, you know, write their own. You know, especially when you call external APIs and all that. So that will take some time, but we aim to release that maybe sometime after the summit.
That's fantastic. And my last question actually links to having a standard demo around Yellowfin 9. Just wondering if maybe you could share with some of the partners. There's many consultants on the call today that they actually do demos for, you know, to end customers. So be interested around plans to having that standard demo around all the new features.
Yeah, so that's being worked on. The demo training for this audience is happening next Monday. I think it starts half an hour later, mercifully, for your side. So yeah, we'll have the that'll be the demo training. That'll be set up for then. So yeah, obviously there are still, as we mentioned, some items that will be in beta for a little while. So we'll go through that during that demo training. And then once we're happy with the stability of the demo, we will do a recording, and that will be made available. We're not putting a date on that at the moment. Should be soon. Yeah. But let's chat about that more this time next week when we go through the demo training.
That's lovely, Corey. Thank you.
All right, folks. Well, thank you very much for giving up your Monday morning. We do appreciate it. Any further questions before we sign off? No, we're good. Thank you, Ivan. Wonderful job, as you said.
Yeah,
most painful part is sitting through and listening to your own voice. It's a wonderful experience. So, good work. And by the way, last time we did this presentation, Ivan and Dan split the time. So tonight, Ivan did the whole thing. So congratulations. Job well done. Thank you all for attending. We'll hopefully chat to many or all of you very soon. And for those who will be attending the demo training, we'll chat again this time next week.
Yeah, and I think I'd probably just make a final point about the fact that the virtual summit on Thursday is open to all you know customers as well. So all the partners that are on the call today to keep pushing and ensuring we get the customers onto the summit and get them excited. It's just some amazing stuff. So yeah, wonderful. So keep promoting.
Yeah, there's 5 sessions.
Thank you so much.
And we still can't cover everything. So it's there's quite a bit in there.
Absolutely. A lot of stuff. Great stuff. Okay. Thanks very much.
All right. Thanks,
everybody.
folks. Have a great day.
Thank you again. Have a good evening. Yeah. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Cheers,
Bye.
guys. Thanks a lot.
See you guys. Have a great Monday.